Let's get ready to rumble! It's not breastfeeding, it's chest feeding. I had to find out what you lot make of this story. Here's Mike Graham introducing it on Talk Radio.
We should turn our attention to, yes, it is on the front page, but I think it's a story which is, along with a whole load of other woke stuff, which I know that some people say, oh, it's a woke agenda, da-da-da, and maybe it's just here to annoy us. But this is the story on the front page of today's Times, which talks about midwives have been told to refer to chest feeding rather than breastfeeding.
Yeah, does anyone actually think that we should be referring to breastfeeding as chest feeding so as not to upset who? Transgender people? I struggle to find anyone on the other side of this argument, and the only activist is a person called Che Brown, and she phoned Julia Hartley Brewer. Let's have a listen in to hear the case being made for why this language is being used.
So it's just about acknowledging that if a trans man happens to be pregnant, which he could be if he still has a uterus, or if a non-binary person has a uterus and happens to be pregnant or happens to give birth, that, you know, they might find the language of breasts and breastfeeding uncomfortable, and
why would they find that language uncomfortable?
Well, because of dysphoria, and you know, if you can change your language as a healthcare professional to just refer to someone's chest and
but it's not. But your chest isn't feeding your child. Your breast is, and whether you are a trans man or a woman living as a woman, a biological woman, which is. Sorry, I don't want to say. I know I'm sitting there. I'm walking on eggshells. Don't want you to say the wrong thing. I'm just trying to explain myself what I think an awful lot of people will think. It is your. You can call them whatever you want, but it is. When I fed my baby, it wasn't my chest feeding my baby. It was my breasts, and it was breast milk made by my breast as a biological woman. So which
is wonderful for you, Julia. However,
no, there's no other way of doing it.
No, I think that, quite frankly, everybody has should be given patient-centered care. Everybody has the right to be treated with dignity.
That's not my... No, Shay. Shay, that's not about treating people without dignity or respect, though. It's the actual biological fact.
No, if a trans man says, I'm uncomfortable with the use of the word breast, and ask the midwife, could you refer to chest feeding, then I'm not sure what impact it has on anyone else.
Okay. Well, because it does have an effect on everyone else, because to a certain extent...
Can you explain why?
Because it is being dishonest. If a trans man is, you said, happens to be pregnant, that is because the only way a trans man is able to be pregnant is because they were born biologically a woman. Their biological physical entity as a woman, their ability to actually have a baby, nurture a baby in their body and give birth to a baby is because they are biologically a woman. And while I absolutely support anybody who chooses to live their life and identify in a different way, and I don't want anyone to be insulting or abusive or treat people without dignity or respect, absolutely, I'm sure my listeners all feel the same as well, that doesn't mean we should change the language around the biological reality that it is breasts, not chests, which create breast milk. It is biological women who are able to give birth and get pregnant, and it is breast milk that feeds the baby.
Well, it's a biological fact that trans people exist, and the endocrine society, which, you know, as a medical body, say that there's a biological basis underpinning trans people's trans identities. Trans men, regardless of what it might say on their birth certificates, are men. Non-binary people are non-binary. They are
trans men,
and they are entitled to be treated with respect.
Yes,
using language that makes them feel comfortable. And this does not detract from anybody that is comfortable with the use of the word breasts. And certainly the guidance that we're talking about makes it very, very clear that this is guidance for midwives and healthcare professionals working with trans men and with non-binary people. They're still going to use breast milk when talking to women. They're still going to use breastfeeding when talking to women, but we're talking about guidance that isn't for women. We're talking about guidance that's for men who happen to be trans. We're talking about guidance that's for non-binary people. And I don't know why on earth anyone would wish to have a healthcare professional use language that would make someone feel uncomfortable.
I don't understand why you've explained, but I still don't understand or accept why someone who is able to have a baby because they were born a biological woman should be in any way feel disrespected or having their dignity attacked in any way by the fact that we are using the simple biological terms like the terms everyone understands.
Interesting. Now, a point that came up early on in the beginning there was when it was mentioned now let me get my language correct here, a trans man has had a baby, that means that he still has a uterus or a womb in order to be able to have and give birth to his baby. Now, if you don't have a problem with the biological language and the biological reality of having a uterus, what do you want to start calling that something else? Why we still refer to that reproductive organ as a uterus, so why are we not referring to the secondary sex characteristics such as breasts if that's what they were originally? Why are we so uncomfortable using the gendered language if the person has decided to identify as something other than what they were born as, and if they have gone through a process in order to change themselves physically? Now, I thought this might be language that's been conjured up recently by people that are trying to be politically correct, that might not be transgender themselves, but I did my research, and the term chest feeding has been around for a while. Here is a transgender individual on YouTube explaining the ins and outs of chest feeding, as they put it. I think this person would be a he, would prefer to be known as a he, but it's obviously somebody who has gone through some kind of transgender journey. Let's have a little listen to find out what the options are if you're looking to chest feed and you are transgender.
How's it going, everyone? Ben here, and today we're going to be talking about, can you chest feed your baby or future child after having top surgery? And the reason why I'm making this video is because there's honestly not a lot of people talking about being transgender and future family planning. I also really want to emphasize, especially to my cis viewers, that chest feeding your baby is not a requirement to be a parent when you are transgender. It is strictly a personal choice that a trans person makes, and I am covering it because there's not much information out there in social media about being a parent and making those decisions of your body so that you can provide for your child. So that's why I'm making this video, and especially if you are someone who is pre-op and wants to have a child and wants to think about whether or not they want to chest feed their child, I think it's very important for them to know whether or not it's possible for them to chest feed their child after they have top surgery. Regardless of whatever method of top surgery you get done, almost every single one is a way to minimize the tissue on your chest. So the surgeon's best interest is to remove as much tissue there as possible, including fat and any form of mammary glands and ducts that attach to your nipple. The surgeon will get rid of almost all of it to masculinize your chest. And unfortunately, you need those glands in order to make milk, and you need those ducts attached to your nipples to be able to secrete the milk so that your baby can drink it. Unfortunately, even if you do get top surgery that preserves your mammary ducts, unfortunately, if you have any form of nipple correction or nipple grafts, those ducts that attach to your nipples often get destroyed in the process. Even if you do have functioning mammary glands, you might not be able to secrete milk because of nipple grafts. Also, it's very hard for surgeons to accommodate for people who want to keep some of those anatomical parts so they can chest feed their child, because those ducts are incredibly small and hard to see by the naked human eye. I personally did a mastectomy on a cadaver, and it was very hard. I couldn't tell what was what, so I definitely understand why anatomically it's very hard to preserve those ducts. So that's something you should be very aware of. You can't just request your surgeon to, hey, can you preserve these things, because it's almost entirely impossible to do unless we create new modern medicine, which might take a couple of decades to basically flesh out. If you are the lucky few individuals that are able to produce milk after having top surgery and nipple grafts, you might still need to supplement some of your chest feeding with formula or milk donations, because you probably will not produce enough. That goes into the second part of this video. If you have had top surgery done already and you do want to provide human milk to your child, there are multiple options available to you to provide human milk to your child. You don't have to strictly formula feed, although I will say that it can be a bit expensive. However, if it's something that you really want and you really want to invest in, there are solutions. The primary solution is to see if there is a local milk bank in your state. There is a website that you can look at. I will post that website down here, but that website will allow you to see the local milk banks in your area where you can actually buy human milk that people have donated to that bank. Number two, if you have a relationship with someone that can lactate and has those anatomical parts that allow them to lactate and secrete milk, then you can make them part of your child rearing team and get your physician involved in that process. The physician can prescribe certain hormones to that person so they can begin to lactate and they can supplement milk to your child. So it's not something that you should be incredibly depressed about if you have just realized in this video that no, I can no longer chest feed my child because I've had top surgery. Nope, that's nothing to be concerned about, because there are solutions. That's it for this video on whether or not you can lactate after having top surgery done.
Top surgery. I'm learning all the jargon now. It's funny, you're just reeling it off like that's an everyday term that everyone would understand, but I'm learning. And that's what this journey is all about. And an interesting point that was made in the video: if you've had your breast tissue removed in order to masculinize your chest, who says that a manly or masculine chest can't have breasts? I thought there were no rules to these things these days. Anyway, I want to give you one last reminder, which is a very important fact, that you can milk anything with nipples. Greg?
That Greg grew up in Detroit.
He told me he grew up on a farm.
Do they have many farms in Detroit?
No, Dina. No, not a lot. In fact, Jack, I should clarify this. I didn't actually grow up in a farm per se. The house that we grew up in was originally erected in the early Dutch farm colonial style. So that, plus we had a lot of pets.
Which one did you milk then?
Dad,
Honey, he said he pumped milk.
What have you ever milked?
Cat?
A cat?
I milked a cat once. You want to hear a story?
Sure.
My sister had a cat, and the cat birthed a litter of kittens. Must have been 30 of them. And there was this one little runt, this little sweet little engine that could run, who could, wanted to get up there and couldn't really get access to the to the teat,
Dad.
what have you. I went in and just simply, just into a little saucer, and then took the saucer and fed it to Geppetto. That's what I named him, Geppetto.
I had no idea you could milk a cat.
Oh yeah, you can milk anything with nipples.
I have nipples, Greg. Could you milk me?
Okay, could we change subject, perhaps?
This has been Lessons for Life. Let me know what you think. Is it right that we change our language just to keep everybody happy? And we'll do it all again soon. We were here. We are gone. Latest.